Yo, shout out to the Most High. It's over the highest even when we in our lower state. It's L-Deez for another episode of I Need to Know. On my special guest, introduce yourself.
Mr. J.E.
What's up, J.E.?
What up, brother? Appreciate you having me.
For sure, man. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Mr. J.E., Mr. Jackson Ellis, entertainment concierge. Most notably or most visibly, you see me at and around New Parish. A lot of clubs, a lot of events, dealing with artists, promotions, just trying to make stuff happen in the town and in the Bay in general. Gotcha.
So how long have you been in the, you're a concert promoter, right?
Yeah, one of the many hats, yeah.
Okay, for sure. How long you been doing that?
Shoot, it probably started in college for me, actually, where it went from parties and events to my first concert, which was an epic fail back in about 2006. Dealing with the town's own Keisha Cole.
Oh, okay. Did she not show up or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Whole lot of issues with her flying from Atlanta. Gave me the #1 piece of information, or just kind of like lesson, was like, man, get these artists in early in the day or the day before. You don't ever want to wait to that afternoon or early evening to try to get artists in town, because all kind of transportation issues, all kind of just issues can happen.
Yeah.
So it's like the more time you have the artists in town, you know, give them something to do, give them some stuff to visit. That way you kind of incentivize them and then protect yourself, that you can make sure your event can actually happen.
So in a case like that, did you kind of feel like you was on the plus side of that fence just based on the fact that she was already from Oakland and she would know how to get around?
I would think, because she was an established artist, that the professionalism would be there. And, you know, actually the crazy part about it too is, like, in probably the week leading up to the event, we started hearing like all the things that would happen with her shows. And we're like, you couldn't have told us that before we booked it.
Yeah.
And then all those things, you know, little things started to emerge. And it's just like, if we'd have known this, we would have done a different direction.
Where did y'all actually want to have it booked at?
Oh, this was when I was bound in Fresno. So I went to Fresno State, and it was an opportunity that some of my older frat brothers wanted to get into the concert game. You know, us being the young frat kids on the yard and throwing events and parties, they handed us, you know, they gave us the bread. They let us run with the play to try to make some money for them.
Okay, and last but not least, I'm going to ask one more thing about that. In a situation like that, or at least back then, how much money do you actually send before they come?
Nearly half. At that time, it was nearly half. Because a lot of those situations have happened like that with booking agencies and booking agents and relationships that you have, even with the manager and the artists themselves, you probably can do a little less than that. So you can do like 25% or even 10% these days. But back then, like, I mean, that was like 06. So you was sending at least half all the time. So
do people say 10% now just because 10% now is so much more now than then?
No, actually, it's just to get it on the books, and it's a kind of like an appreciation investment, that it's like, I'll take this smaller amount because I know I got to follow through to get the rest.
Yeah.
You know, so like, it's kind of like, it's a safeguard as me putting the money out to, you know, market, promote, all the things that go along with trying to put an event together ahead of time, to make sure that they're incentivized to make sure you want that other 90%, you got to come through and fulfill the rest of your contract. Okay.
So that was an epic fail. Talk about the next show that actually went well, that was like, you know what, I could actually do this.
I mean, it started with parties. You know, parties kind of get you comfortable and consistent. You know, from weeklies to monthlies and things like that. So then that shows you that you have a following, you have an audience. People look to you to be entertained. And then once people are looking towards you to be entertained, they're always asking, wanting. And at the same time, they're also suggesting. So I'm one that listens. Like, I learned, let me see, what show did I do that I was like, yo, I really want to do it, and I took an L. It was probably a bunch of them, where it's like I had to get out the mindset of what show I wanted to do, what I wanted to see, and have to listen to what people are willing to pay and what are people asking for. So I'd rather give you something that you already asking for versus convincing something that I'm interested in. Yeah. So I mean, it's just a few of those like that, and then just, you know, just learning from older people in the game, and just be willing to do all the aspects of the project to really get cemented and understand how it works from A to B and all the way through Z.
Okay. You've been in this game for a minute.
A little bit.
Is there a difference, like, when you throw parties, let's just say, like, for different genres of music? Like, does one genre of music bring more violence and stuff like that than another?
I'd say more so it's the number of people, the larger events have the potential of having more violence because you have a larger collection or a bigger diversity of people that may not typically party together. So then that's where issues arrive when everyone doesn't have the same kind of party culture in the same room, you know, so that's whether that's ethnically or that's even economically, that everyone can't party together. The difference to that, though, is, and the complete contrast to that is, funny enough, is people can go to concerts together, which is, that's where once I realized that, you can take advantage of having that larger capacity, larger turnout, and having less issues, because at the end of the day, for a concert specifically, you know, people enjoy the opening acts or the, you know, the tour support, but really you want to get to the point where when the headliner's on the stage, all the issues kind of go out the way, because the main reason everyone's there is on stage. For the
headliner.
So then once all that's happening, you can clearly just separate who's really there for the event and who's really there for just like to kick it. And then if you bring a big enough artist or the right type of artist, everyone's focused on the artist. Like, that's the moment that they were there for. That's you know, pull out the phones, enjoy it. They're, you know, enthralled and, you know, and completely focused on that. And that's the point of the night that I always look forward to, is like all the other stuff, you just want to get through all that to get to that point. That's the reason why people paid their money. That's the reason why people came out, and that's their focus on. And that's what they're looking to receive. And if they get that and get show from that artist, they leaving satisfied.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you saying like the big difference between parties and concerts is that concerts are bigger and people more focus in on. You
got that central focus.
Yes.
You know, for a party, it's like, oh, I'm here with my partners. Oh, we gonna meet some people. Okay, I like the DJ. But it's like, you can focus on the DJ, but it's like, you'll lose focus of the DJ, because as soon as the DJ starts playing the song that you really don't like, I mean, it's part of the night, but it's like, there's no reason to be just sitting there looking at the DJ the entire night.
Exactly.
You know? And then just all kind of interaction with people moving in, out. You know, you bumping around. Now you spill my drink, and because you know everyone doesn't have that same club etiquette where it's like, oh, but my bad, let me buy you another drink, or it's like, oh, you stepped on my, now that can turn into something. Whereas you don't really get a lot of those interactions or situations for a concert, as opposed to a party when everyone's just kind of moving around. Yeah,
because they already been weeded out. They already been weeded out.
Yep.
You know, people. The funny thing is, at a concert, you could actually get kicked out of a concert for getting drunker.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
You too lit? Oh, yeah, you got to
go. But at a party, you can kind of blend in. I don't know if the security may play a factor in
it's probably a little more lax. Because, again, there's no central focus. There's no central thing to mess up. So you probably have a much wider leeway in a party as opposed to a show. And it's more noticeable in a show versus a party. Because if it's just everyone all interacting, then you, like I said, you can blend in. Whereas, like, once the show's acting, and like, and especially certain artists have control of the audience, so then if they're acting and the audience is just silent, and then there's three motherfuckers over here talking hella loud or being hella out of pocket, then it's easy to notice those people, because it's like everyone's in line over here and you're an outlier now. So I can separate you. Hey, can you step outside real quick? Let me talk to you. Hey, this is what we need you to do. And then you can gauge if they're willing to be compliant to let them back in, or if not, you can send them on their way.
Yeah. For sure. When you said that you was a man of many hats, besides the concerts and parties, what else? What other hats do you throw on?
Well, I understanding that the marketing, the promotion, the idea of having the relationship with the artist to make sure that you get the best deal possible. Understanding how the security and the flow of the night, and just from A to B, from taking it from, or actually not A to Z, from the idea of, hey, I want to do this. Well, how can we best structure it to make it successful, and then how can we execute it to be successful, and then how can we wrap it up, all the way through. So like, people just think, oh yeah, you just open the doors and we make money and everything's popping. And it's like, no, you got to start with, what's the reason, the date, the location, how the imagery looks, from the graphics to who's helping support and market and promote. Like, all those things factor into how successful, how smooth it'll be. So I can have a conversation with someone and I can do anything along that chain, or I can just do one or two pieces along the chain. So it's up to you and what the budget is, really.
Basically, he said it's up to the motherfucking money. You think I heard that?
That's what got me into entertainment in general, because it was like, in good times and bad times, people gonna party. So it's recession proof. Now, in hindsight, I should have been thinking about also what's pandemic proof.
Yeah, but I was gonna get into that.
I thought I was, completely covered because I'm like, people always gonna find a way, an excuse to kick it a party, go to an event, especially if enough people talking about it.
Yeah.
So the one thing that came along that negates my superpowers and all my interests is a pandemic because I can't have people gather.
Yeah, that's crazy, huh?
That's the one thing. But it also had me thinking about, okay, even in this is like, you got to think of what's essential. So now I had to, kind of shift my focus, and actually have been working on some more essential things that I've been able to tap into during this time to go back into the grand scheme of everything that I've been working on. So okay, is this pandemic like by far the most worst natural disaster you ever seen in your lifetime? To me personally, I found the silver lining very early on in it. Outside of definitely the pain and the death and the loss of life and the economic struggle that this has brought on, I feel at the same time, it's exposed a lot of issues with us individually, us societally, us as a country, which is like, you knew these things were here and there's different issues, but at no one point were they all exposed at the same time. So, we have a lot of issues with, wage across the country. You have, just
you said wage, like
wage,
money.
What people are getting paid.
Yeah.
So in all these aspects of, I've been saying a lot lately, like America's really a third world country masquerading as a superpower because we don't treat people well. We don't have them, well off. And this pandemic exposed that. And a lot of our issues was guided and kind of masked by, it's all racial. Like, no, I really feel this country is separated economically, and that a lot of white America and middle white America found that out, that you really live in check to check too. Just because you was white, you thought, you're better off. It's like, no, they don't care about your jobs and your pensions and all those things either.
Yeah.
And, you had to go on unemployment and you realize, hold on, at unemployment, especially with that federal unemployment, that extra 600, like, I can live okay. Me working 40 plus hours a week, I'm making less than I'm getting off of unemployment. Like, that's crazy.
It is.
So all those things, all those different things, got exposed to me, or I feel like got exposed to people or to the masses, which, you kind of, I've already noticed those things and thought about those things. And then just realized, like I said before, about things being essential. So, one of the things I definitely realized is security is essential. And something I had been working on prior to kind of this, or I was doing in conjunction with my events and shows and concerts, was I went out and got all my security credentials because I was like, oh man, these artists have set security people, or they hire security teams. Yeah. Like, that's a valuable part to make sure that artist is protected, the show flows how it's supposed to. And I'm like, that's another lane I can get revenue if I can put together security teams for these artists coming in town, when they arrive, when they leave, or even just, in a tour. A situation. So I was already interested in executive protection and things like that, where I had met different, and because of the club and events, you would meet that artist's lead, especially the higher end artists, you would meet their lead security person, and what they would expect and all that. So I'm like, okay, let me, that's more information for me to know, even on a daily basis. On when I ran the club, it's like, these are the things I'm looking for and thinking about to make sure the night goes smooth for the guests and the artists all the time. And I'm like, that's a whole lane, and that's a big industry in itself. Yeah. So, I got into all that, and then, pandemic hit, it gave me time to really practice with all my guns, and, because also pandemic hit, it was like, to me, I was like, this is how a lot of movies start. It's like, this might turn into the zombie apocalypse or whatever. Well, shit, let me make sure my shit's tight.
Yeah, for sure.
So all those things. So I'm like a 3, 4, 5 lane person all the time. And then just like this pandemic has given me that time to kind of focus on all that, and look at all these different lanes. And it's like, we don't know what exactly it's going to look, but it's like, I want to have a play for whatever it comes out to be. Yeah.
So are you trying to tell me that you actually got your own security company almost? Or
not yet.
Like
I mean,
that's in the
that's in the works, because my idea now is like, I could either go out, and it's a lot involved and a lot of investment to go and get your own, but also what I'm smart enough to do is like, hey, let me come along and be a number 2, number 3 in an existing company, and bring all my skill set of marketing, promotion, relationships. And now, I bring something to the table to get that company more profiled events, contracts, and things like that. And we, making money.
Got you. And are you exclusive to the new parish?
Nah.
Okay.
I'm gonna scoop it to entertainment in my pocket, my bills.
So I know that's right. So do people call you and say, "Hey, Jay, I need you to book somebody," or get into, like, do you get a broker's fee for getting in touch with people?
Definitely. Depends on the situation, because also if the budget's tight, sometimes I'm also comfortable enough and have different things out there where it's like that's not my only thing. So sometimes I'm down to do the project just to make sure the project happens, because in the grand scheme of things, it's important just to get stuff to happen sometime.
Yeah.
So I can take a back seat to it to make sure, or I can wait on the back end to make sure, if it turned out well, look out for me. If not, it was enough just to make it happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Talk
about throwing like a party or something like that and something crazy just happened. You got any wild stories?
I'm trying to think. What's it? I got this one story. It's kind of like he like family now. Okay. What's his name? Lil Yee out of Frisco. Yeah. So we were doing an event with Thizzler. So and Thizzler was doing like a day concert, and we actually had two events that day. We were doing Thizzler. They're kind of like it was like a summer concert or like a new artist concert. And what I'm saying, I mean, I don't know everybody. So, artist presents himself and he's like, man, I'm such and such, man, let me let my in. I'm like, man, I don't see you on the list. The little door woman didn't have him on the list, and he had like extra people. I'm just like, bro, just be cool. Hey, just, we'll get Matt, come up here, verify, all that, just be cool. And then somehow it just turned into like, he wasn't trying to listen to all that. And then it was like some pushing and shoving. And then it went to like swinging. And I'm like at the front door, and like he swing, I like slide back, and he missed, and I come over the top with like boom. But what I didn't know was his pops was like had came up the hallway on the side, so his pops clocked me on the side. I didn't even see it, and I'm like, oh man, what? And so we like before we could really get tussling, like my security was there and everyone was there, kind of like we smoothed it out. But it was just funny. So whenever we see each other, we like family now, because anytime you can fight with a motherfucker, it's like family now. So that was fun. That was funny. Where like I got left and I had it was a long day, so my jaw was kind of swollen. So it's this picture with me and Manny Fresh that you can't really tell, but if you look, my jaw is kind of swollen from the little second punch that I got hit from Pops.
And you know what? You are a real one.
Yeah.
But even you didn't have to say that.
Yeah.
But some motherfuckers, see, I never knew about that, right?
Yeah.
What?
Oh yeah.
Okay, best New Parish event from the caller.
Oh. Oh, of course. I mean, one of the best things, and just unfortunately with time has made it even more memorable, is that we did Nipsey. And I've done Nipsey, like I had like leading up to that event, I want to say that was like 2016. We were like 4 years, 2016, 2015, 18? Nah. 13, 14, Crenshaw. Yeah, it's Crenshaw. So it might, maybe about 2013, 2014. We had worked with, one of his reaching homies, and Booker, my homie, who a lot of people had an issue with him. I ain't personally ever have. Oh, actually, no, I had an issue with him. That's the back end of the story. But cat with DED Entertainment had the idea. Boom, hey, this Crenshaw album was dropping. Actually, no, it was a mixtape, right? That was the mixtape that he was selling at for $100. So it was like right when like if you just were kind of like it was like Nipsey was like a niche artist. It's like if you liked him, you liked him. Not everybody knew a lot about him. Yeah. And then he had a lot of support in the reaching African circle.
For sure.
So we had done a couple events with him prior. Like one was at Caribbean City, and somewhere I can't remember the second place. So it was like I'm a fan, and that was when I was like I'm a fan, but it was like it didn't have a great turnout. So it's like we covered bills, maybe lost a little bit of money, but it was like it was cool. But then like coming off the Crenshaw album or coming up to the Crenshaw mixtape, it was like perfect storm. Actually, that was like the perfect storm event where we legit got Nipsey for like $6,000 all in on that. And that was kind of not necessarily high for us, but it was like boom. But then like soon as like right after we had like locked him in, he was telling everybody else like 15, 20. So we was like, oh, we up. And did it with D Entertainment, Daniel, my boy B Bailey, put together the issue. And like I said, just turned into an epic night because, we're like a month out of him. The event was about a month out after the project dropped. So once the project dropped, like it just took the industry by storm. So everybody was fucking with it. Rick Ross is buying 100 copies. Jay-Z is buying 100 copies. So like everyone was talking to him. It's like, yo, we got this event right Black Friday. So the day after Thanksgiving. So we was like, it just lined up perfectly in every aspect. We got it, you know, the overhead was really low for the artist and the venue. And then he was just the hottest artist right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was crazy. We're just like, it sold out. Like we sold like 400 tickets in advance. I think we did another 200 at the door. And then realistically, the door probably did another 200 after that on, which you don't necessarily always want, but like side deals, wiggles, and motherfuckers was paying up to $100 at the door. So it was just like one of those, it turned into, it was an epic night because if you was...
And this was at the New Parish?
This was at New Parish. This was at New Parish.
Okay, damn. Yeah. So how many people was in there?
So we probably damn near had like, throughout that night, probably like 1,000. And I mean like, and that's like from a concert standpoint, that was the second largest number that I had personally done in that space.
Yeah.
The first was, we'll talk about it in a second, I think it was a Monday Soul, it was short. But like that was just epic. And then going into that where, you know, real artists come together, he had a solid and real relationship with Jack. So Jack would come out and then that like the room just blows up because, you know, Jack performs and then they rock. And it was just epic in all those things. Just, you know, it was so Oakland. It was just so hood, so street, so real. And for the most part, it was smooth. Like it wasn't really no issue other than people just being super fans and trying to get close. It wasn't no any, you know, actual like altercations or anything like that. So that was great of that night. And then for him his trajectory just, you know, shot up from there, from what he was doing musically, from what he was doing professionally, from what he was doing as an entrepreneur and a business person, where it was dope to be like, from that night, from that project on, you know, he got to the heights. And it's just painful that again he got clips before, you know, he could really take off.
Yeah, because he was on his way. I always say that Nipsey Hussle, let's just say like Jay-Z is a heavyweight. Mm-hmm. I would say Nipsey Hussle will be like the lightweight version of Jay-Z to me. Yeah,
the more I'm still in the streets, I'm not completely separated from the streets, but I'm still progressing professionally and locally and, you know, in the community. So that's kind of like the best person that you would want to kind of take that mantle and take that charge, because it's like,
because he was on his way.
He was on his way.
He was on his way. Because like the fact that I think he's like Eritrean or Ethiopian, like he could have damn near did a tour just in Africa.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
That definitely was probably coming because, you know, you wanted to. I know he appreciated that that base that he had,
of course.
And then, you know, again, it's business in Africa, so like that would have been something to really tap into. Like right now, like there's a whole thing, and I'm not even real versed in it, but like there's you know, there's kind of like a civil war or something going over there. If he was still here, he definitely would have been someone that would have been trying to, you know, take his power, his weight, his influence to help make that situation better. And that was the trajectory that he definitely was on.
Do you think that his hit was like a political hit?
I mean, it could be all those things, but at the same time, like we were just talking outside, where we kill each other. Yeah. So it's like it doesn't necessarily have to be that complicated sometimes. Yeah. Like it could be complicated in the situation, but also it could have been that simple where dude was just mad at him for he felt he was disrespected by dude, and I got a gun and a couple shots.
Yeah.
So will we ever know? I don't know. But it could have been complicated, or it could have been just that simple. All it takes is just a trigger pull, a bullet.
This is what I want to know. Mm-hmm. You've done shows at Caribbean City, right? Mm-hmm. And you've done shows at New Parish. I know that for a fact because I've seen you there.
Yeah. Once or twice.
Is there a huge contrast of crowd? Do different clubs bring different crowds?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like it's a different, it's a complete contrast. But also that's, you know, to the programming, all that plays into it. And then also it's just, you know, some people feel comfortable in some spaces. And then if, you know, there's a demographic that has a harder time or doesn't feel comfortable in another space, and they find a space that they feel comfortable, then they're going to gravitate to that, you know, that room or that space. And that's what it is. So every space has, a demographic, but it's based on what your programming is. Yeah. So and that's the hard part, where you can really change the makeup of what your demographic is by your programming, and like concerts do that. Yeah. Because that artist is going to bring out their art, their fan base.
Yeah.
Whereas parties, you're just there for if enough people are coming, or my 5 friends are coming, my 10 friends coming, and it's just so it's meant to be mixed.
Yeah.
As opposed to a concert where it's like you have that central focus.
Now, it might sound ancient and stuff like that, but who invented the day party?
Day party is new. Like, that's something that for the Bay, that's extremely new. Whereas, other markets like New York, Miami, Houston, even SoCal. Like, actually, to California was like probably the last person or last group on the day party type of thing. That just wasn't a thought. But also, because you got to think, all those other markets have all these outdoor venues.
Yeah.
Consistently. So then that, that's something to take advantage of. And then California didn't necessarily have, even though for all the sun and stuff like that, we didn't really have those outdoor venues or anyone to take the lead to say, man, let's just do something, in the daytime. Because also most clubs look horrible in the light. So
damn.
Like, I mean, just you gotta think about, for all the people that are in there, how people disrespect and, don't appreciate furnitures and walls, like, it's dirty. And the night and the club lights and the flashing, hides all that. So a lot of clubs are not nice enough in the daytime, all the weakness of the club, or just like the ills and the whatever of the club is exposed in the daytime. So you got to have a space that is still attractive in the daytime.
Yeah.
So that was it. So it took venues tapping into that, and probably in LA first, and then up here, and then I'm trying to think, like, who's some of the first people? Shit, I kind of probably want to give it to like Kamal and them, some of the first day parties.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm saying Dragon Rouge. Yeah, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna give it to Kamal with Dragon Rouge. Was one of the first day parties, consistent out here. So you had a nice restaurant and had a dope, outdoor patio.
Where's Dragon Rouge?
It's right on Alameda. So it's right on the other side of the 23rd Street Bridge. Yeah. But yeah, that's 23rd. That's 23rd Street Bridge. So it's right on there. So you kind of got a little water look, and it's just, and he built an audience, and folks started having fun. So then I think that got acceptable to be like, okay, let's do stuff in the daytime. And then, more and more, a few new venues came along that still looked, okay in the daytime. So then you got the Parliaments, and then who took the day party super far and really got it popping was Anthony Presents over in the city, where he had the End Up. So End Up has been a club and has been on the club scene for a long time, but their programming wasn't really very hip hop friendly, and just to the masses of what people are entertained. So then when Anthony Presents did that, like he changed the game with the the whole day party stuff, because then he started bringing out different artists, and then End Up has just a huge outdoor patio. Like, it's the patio is actually bigger than the club, I feel.
Yeah.
So then once you get a lot of people out, then you mix the bottles and artists, and then you just make that the thing that people want to go to, and then everyone started trying to really adapt and take advantage of that. And he realized, oh shit, people will party in the day, which again comes down to, like, people always looking to be entertained.
Yeah.
They adjust to be entertained.
Yeah, I miss those day parties like in April, like Easter and shit like that. But I was gonna ask you something kind of off the subject about parties. Have you ever seen that documentary called The Limelight?
No, I haven't.
You never seen that?
I'm mad I didn't, because I try to be a student of this.
You heard about it?
I haven't.
Okay. Jay-Z mentioned The Limelight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, there was this big church that used to be in Brooklyn or somewhere in New York.
Yeah.
One of the major boroughs. They couldn't get rid of the church, but they didn't know what to do with it, so they used to throw parties in there, but they didn't want to change none of the other stuff. So anyway, somebody ended up ODing like in the club, because they used to be putting hella ecstasy pills like in this big punch and
shit going like at it. Yeah.
But in the church though.
Yeah. So it was still an active church on Sunday, or it just was a church building?
It was a church building that still had Jesus Christ on the cross, or what to be the white Jesus trail, because that ain't Jesus, Hey, but it had the white man up there on the cross. It was a straight church.
Yeah. That's actually kind of lit.
And they was partying. Well, it was the lime lit.
Yeah. Nah, I mean, I could see how that was attractive and different, and that would draw a whole bunch of people in, and then if they could kick it in how they did, and especially how New York, they were doing coke
Yeah,
that. So I'm doing everything I want to do in a unique space.
Yeah.
I can see that popping.
Have you ever been in the music scene?
In what regard?
Rapping.
Oh,
singing.
not an artist. I'm behind the scenes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever managed an artist?
A few.
Okay, how'd that go?
Not well. Well, I always ran into someone, my limit was when I'm really trying to tell you something because I have experience in network, but you know more than me. As soon as you know more than me about how to get you out there and get you more exposure, there's not much more we can do.
Would you ever manage another artist again?
Pre-pandemic, it was a thought. Post-pandemic, nah. I got these other things I want to work on.
What do you think when do you think that California is going to open back up? Like, if you just had to guess.
I mean, right now, it's probably to what we were before with the minimized capacities and stuff like that. Probably like in January, but like to fully open, like we're probably going to be one of the last people. Just like that's how we've been traditionally or consistently thus far. Spring, summer.
Okay.
Spring, summer.
And somebody told me this. Mm-hmm. When y'all letting people in, right? Mm-hmm. Clubs like transgender people and shit like that, do y'all have to look at their IDs and shit like that, like to make sure? Somebody said, I forgot what did he say? He said, when you letting in transsexuals in the club, you got to look at their ID. And they say there's only like 2 capacity or some shit like that.
No, I mean, hey, that is a hell of a lane. That is a hell of demographic, and they need to be entertained too. So I've learned. I had to learn a lot in talking with members of the LGBTQ community, and we do a lot of events with that community. And I'm supportive, and the community is supportive of our venue and different things. That you just have to be respectful to, who they want to be and how they want to be addressed now. So yeah, you'll get an ID, and it may be a little opposite, but you make the right correlations. Yeah. In visual that you can, and be accepting of the person. Okay.
And how do you manage social drama beefs?
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing on the internet.
Yeah. I'm talking about like in the club, like say like if you have like a artist that may, like say like your people over here, right? Say like you booked Fred Flintstone, right?
Yeah.
Right? But Spacey Sprockets and them motherfuckers want to pull up and shit like that, but they don't fuck with it like that. Do you still let the other motherfuckers in or be like, nah, y'all can't get in? Like, have you ever had to do that?
I haven't had to do that to the extent of stopping someone from coming in. I've had to do it in the extent of having a conversation with both sides or representative of both sides to be like, and I'm one to also inject myself in some situations quickly to try to resolve it. And fortunately, I have good enough reputation that someone in that circle and somewhere in that camp that they understand that, I'm gonna respect J.E. in this moment because it's just a space. We want to keep having stuff like that. So we've not had stuff when I can have an opportunity to have a conversation or help de-escalate. I'm really good at de-escalating. So I've been fortunate to avoid situations by having a conversation. Yeah. So because I'm on the ground enough, I'm respectful enough, I'm respected enough, I feel, and I try to know as many people in many circles as possible that it's like, bro, let's not do this right here. We're here for here. If y'all want to do that, down the block, a mile away, whatever. But this is not the space for it. So I've been fortunate to be able to have those conversations, have the relationships that's respected, and that anger and issue that can be de-escalated in that moment, and we can keep the shit going.
Now, this is what I want to know. Were you there when it was Jimmy's? Were you at New Paris when it was Jimmy's?
No, my only recollection of Jimmy's was catching it on Friday nights, Saturday nights, watching it in my living room at home as a kid, and trying to look on the camera to see if I see one of my schoolmates' mama so we can go back on Monday and be like, I seen your mama dancing at Sweet Jimmy's. So when we made the transition to come to Sweet Jimmy's, I never knew exactly where it was. I knew the name, from Soul Beat and all that stuff. I knew the name, but I never knew where it was. I'd never been inside. But again, that's when me being a student of the history of just entertainment in Oakland in general. I love the fact that I'm in that space and trying to push that space to, along for what it, what it's been, and be on the shoulders of Sweet Jimmy still being a space where people gather, kick it, and we have dope events and parties. We actually did a renovation 2 years ago, and we came across, and now I have it in my office. It's a cartoon portrait of Sweet Jimmy with his in a couple of pictures with the sailor hat. So it was it's lit. So it's right in the corner.
Do they still have the big statue of him in there? Damn.
Oh, yeah, I never seen that.
You never seen the big carving statue of Sweet Jimmy with the big hat?
Nah.
I used to love how the big white Escalade used to pop out, and his lady used to open it up, and he used to get out like this.
Yeah.
He was hella cool, though.
I can see that. Now, again, just from everything I've heard and different, stories, for people of color, he was that space that it was like an all-day thing. Like, you could kick it in the daytime. They was playing dominoes. They was eating out the restaurant. They, transitioned to night stuff. So it was just a great gathering space.
Yeah, it was like in about 2000 and I'm going to say 6-ish. That was like the wave of all the old-timers starting to pass away.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Estrid Orbit Room. Somewhere around there before 2010. Somewhere around there. Mingles closed.
Yeah.
It just became this new Oakland and shit. The Warriors start winning somewhere around there. It just became Oaklandish.
Oh, yeah, that was, so I can't.
It came Oaklandish. No, it became Oaklandish.
No, but it was still Oakland, though. So I came back in 06 from school. Yeah. So, I think Mingles and all that stuff was closed. Echelon, all that had been closed. And so, I actually worked for the Warriors during the We Believe. So, for 2 years, I was working for the Warriors in that We Believe, and I was there for that We Believe season. And then you had things like Arsemonas pop up. I said New Paris kind of popped up. I mean, Air Lounge was like the staple. Then you had a few things that you went to the city, like Whisper and a few other spots like that. But yeah, and that was the other cool thing where you used to have to go to the city or San Jose to kick it in Oakland, for kicking it. And then the transition happened where people didn't want to go all the way down to San Jose. San Francisco started hating on hip hop, and then Oakland was able to pick all that back up. Yeah. And then we've held on to it as long as we've held on it now. Because San Francisco don't really want to do hip hop like that. I mean, it's probably 3-4 clubs in San Francisco that do hip hop. If that. Yeah.
I did security before, and the biggest difference between doing security for white people and black people. Black people, you have to worry about somebody going to the hospital because they got shot. White people, you have to worry about somebody going to overdosing.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yep. Overdosing. And this is what I was gonna ask you before we got out of here.
Yeah.
Who would you be more upset if you were? Doug Collins having to give his job to Phil Jackson and they had the dynasty, or Mark Jackson giving his dynasty to Steve?
Oh yeah, Mark Jackson got to be hot. He got to be hot because he laid the foundation to what. And I appreciate certain players still acknowledge him and what he did, but he just he overplayed his position in the big game when dealing with ownership and all that stuff. But he definitely got to be hot, whereas he was on the cusp of championships. And because Doug Collins was he probably not tripping.
You don't think Doug Collins is tripping?
Not like that. Not like a Mark Jackson. He probably tripping, but Mark Jackson got to be hot.
Gotcha.
Got to be hot.
Okay, so before we get out of here, is there anything else you want to say? Props, anything else?
Now, I appreciate y'all having me. Appreciate y'all keeping this going. Like I said, I've been paying attention to this definitely through the pandemic. So y'all have something dope here at the studio. You know what I'm saying? Y'all, wipe everything down. I've been extremely professional. Okay. I appreciate y'all, and I want y'all continued success.
All right, for sure. Now, do you know the hashtag? Do you know my hashtag?
I don't.
Okay. Well, my name is L-Deez for another episode I Need to Know, and the hashtag, as usual, is come on, you know what I want.
I know that.
We